you're best known as the inventor of the BOSU, of course. And I've known you since 2005, so it's been a long time. And
15 years.
Yeah, man, and time flies. And you've always been at the pulse of coming up with really interesting inventions. While most people know you as the BOSU guy on the periphery, they don't realize how many subsequent inventions you've come up with that are in many ways way more groundbreaking and way more innovative. That brings us to these pulses that I see you posting a lot about. What motivated you to get into this whole space?
Okay, so I view this as a huge opportunity to talk to your audience, Mike, because we have some commonality in the audience. The people who listen to you are serious about their fitness, right? And you're a no-nonsense person. So that's an opportunity that anybody in the fitness industry, you're going to want to have seen this episode, because certain truth bombs will be, dispatched here that are in your interest, because finances, we're talking about business. And I want to speak from it from that perspective. I've known you, Mike, since 2005, when I was a peripheral player around but not part of the RKC community.
Right.
And I saw, I was watching that like a soap opera. Because I was friends with Cotter and Castro Giovanni.
Yeah.
And that sort of brought me into the network where I wasn't one of the captains, but I got to be at the table with the captains, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then as that sort of collapsed, the first collapse happened, the first mutiny, right?
Yeah.
And people who know, I think what it is, I don't know, I'm going to have forgiveness. I'm going to share, I'm bouncing all over the place, but when I was an actor, I fudged my resume.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I fake it till I make it. I get it.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to hold that against somebody.
Yeah.
So if you're a master of sport and that's what got you off the ground, well, okay. I wouldn't do that because it could be checked. But
right.
The point being is that some of us care about the truth. And some of us are going to live or die by the truth, right? Doesn't mean that you win, but it means that you can sleep at night and your soul... Anyway, you're aligned with something that you believe in, right? You're not just vacillating and going with whatever, right? And so much of this world, the challenge is that we have to market our services and our goods and what it is we have. So we have to present it to the market as the best. You got no choice. You can't. It's not car rentals. Well, we're second best. Well, if you're a trainer, you're second best. Why am I going to go to you?
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And so it's a business, the fitness business. And I had no aspirations of being a personal trainer. In fact, I looked down on the profession when I was a college graduate because I went to Williams College where guys come out and make money.
Right.
$70 an hour is pretty bad if you're measuring it against Wall Street. Right.
Right.
So I had a chip on my shoulder from I'm an actor, not a personal trainer. I was pursuing acting, and the personal training was to, survive.
Yeah.
Right? And then I invent the BOSU ball, and that's just oh my God. I knew the instant I thought of that was a multi-million-dollar idea, a sustainable annual.
What made you think of that? What brought that to mind?
So what happened was I had rollerbladed for 6 years. My feet were extremely weak, and I didn't know that was the root cause, that I couldn't resolve, my body weight to the ground through weak feet.
Right.
And so that led to compensatory patterning up the chain, and my lower back bore the brunt of it. And I strained my back one day lifting up a motorcycle, and 3 days later I collapsed with back pain, and then I was saddled with daily chronic back pain that was horrible. And I couldn't get rid of it because my feet were weak, and there was no building it because I always had to compensate. And I was athletic and I was strong, but I was ignorant as all can be. And
right.
And then I started the stability ball, right? I started using the stability ball, and then I saw Paul Chek standing on the thing doing a squat with 135 pounds. I was like, I'm going to stand on that thing. And what I didn't realize at the time, that standing on that ball was forcing my feet and this centerline adduction strength and this compression into the dome. You can't find the line consistently on a ball, and it's very dangerous.
Right.
But I fell off the ball one night, and I had fallen off several times. And there was one night I fell. I was like, I'm not going to kill myself getting better.
Yeah.
I fell off the ball. Like I was doing a minimalist thing on the ball. I was doing a Feldenkrais exercise where I closed my eyes and tilted my head back. And the reaction was I lost my balance and I landed on the ball with my butt, did a backflip and landed on the other side of the 200 square foot apartment.
Oh boy.
And that night, laying in bed, I was like, what if I cut it in half? And as soon as I thought of that, it was like, oh my God, that's going to be like, oh my God, I've never seen that. Like, oh my, that's going to be so useful. Like, oh my God. And so I just couldn't sleep after that. And I built a prototype the next day and I quit acting. Like I was in acting for a full 92 to 99 for a full 7 years, 100%. And then with that opportunity, I knew I had to give it my all because it would represent my financial freedom.
Yeah, with your acting, I remember you said you were on some soap opera for a while, and you played.
Oh my gosh!
So
you were trying to be
out. You were trying to be out of the scene. You're trying to stand. You're trying to stand in the corner so you're not in the scene.
I used to do a show. I used to do a show, ABC soap opera, and it was, I think it was One Life to Live, and basically I had this recurring role of just a plot-pushing police officer. His name was Tim Chase. And I would get my 5 lines so they'd only have to pay me $1,000 and not have to pay me real money.
Right.
So, do less than 5. But I was recurrent, so it paid my rent every month. But I was humiliated because I didn't want to be a soap opera actor and I didn't want to be a scrub soap opera actor on top of not wanting to be a soap opera actor. So the cameras have a red light. When the camera's hot, that red light's on. So when I know that, and so I'm like, I see a red light, I hide behind somebody. And the director's not on the floor. They're on a microphone. They're like, oh, hey, Mr. Weck, please, take a step to your right and pay attention to the light on the camera.
The actor in the history of acting is trying not to be in a scene.
Listen, the soap opera was like, you talk about since 2005, you knew me. And Steve Cotter used to always say, he's like, if people knew who you were and how you actually trained, they wouldn't beat up the BOSU ball, right? And I know that the BOSU ball became like, that was the punching bag. If you're going to make fun of a fitness product, the BOSU ball was like the number one, pretty much, for a large group of people. And the group of people who are more serious than most, they come at it with a higher intellect. They invest more money. They're more serious. They're a first earner, not some like, oh yeah, I train 2 people and I drive my, Range Rover. So you have this, and what happened was around that 2005, 2006, 2007, what happened was a certain group of people conspired to take charge of functional training. And they equated functional training with scientific research that said you had to brace your core super stiff and neutral and maintain super stiff neutral to have core stability, because the core doesn't generate power, it only transmits power. Proximal stiffness leads to distal athleticism. Ho, ho, ho. And it's like more bullshit than you could swing a stick at because it's not true. And when I was a high school guy playing football, lifting weights, I didn't understand the Marshall. So I was ignorant as all get out, and I would have been susceptible to believe that. Right. But as soon as you understand martial science and the truth of like fight, response, ability, no bullshit. How fast can you move your body from here to there, motherfucker? Right? Because that's an objective measure. You brace your core super stiff and neutral, you're going to be slower and you're going to increase the chance of injury. And what these people do is they're the ones who scientifically condemn the BOSU ball as unstable and therefore it makes you weaker. And in place, you need to do the Palloff press. And the blood.
Yeah.
The blood. I want you, like Conan, man.
Yeah.
Like I want to hear the lamentations, motherfucker. You lying to people about my BOSU ball costing me hundreds of millions of dollars, and you're perpetrating the fraud on the fitness industry. We have a disrespectful, or we have a fitness industry that the institutionalized academic arm of it is completely corrupt, and they're going to fall. Guarantee it. Guarantee it. They're going to fall. It's just a matter of time. It's disgusting.
I mean, anyone who proliferates information that's counterproductive, at the very least, is going to fall, because people always want to know how to improve. And if you can offer how to improve, whatever it is, whether it's improving hormones, whether it's improving your physical body, anytime you can show people how to improve things, people are going to gravitate towards that.
And what happened is they now are stuck on a narrative that this core stiffness, maintaining the neutral, is what you have to do, and that's how they built themselves to this, respected, reputable position that puts them on the dais doing the seminars and the whole thing, right? With scientific justification, $1 million laboratories, right? And now they have to answer to the fact that what they've been teaching is fundamentally wrong. Fundamentally wrong. And you see, for me, there's a vengeance and the chip on the shoulder. I was watching Joe Rogan and Roy Jones yesterday and this morning. And Joe Rogan commented, said, listen, Roy, you have an ego and you have a chip on your shoulder, but you probably wouldn't have been one of the greatest boxers of all time had you not had that flaw.
Oh, sure.
I have that flaw. That flaw. I'm a competitive person, so I'm looking for competition. And when people are beating up on my BOSU ball and there's no recourse that I can really do, because otherwise I'm just fanning a flame that they control, I have to lay quiet for 15 years. While these motherfuckers were telling people that the BOSU ball made you weaker. And it's like, so I am personally offended by the lies. And then the idea that if you're not in line with the actual biomechanics that is the most efficient usage of self, well, then there's no place for you in the fitness industry.
Right.
Because what you're doing is you're sabotaging human beings. Physical education is the most honest and most fundamental form of education. The fact that I'm able to manipulate the wind with my mouth and my tongue this way, I'm using myself physically to communicate with you intellectually, right? It's physical. I had to learn how to do it. And what we have is we have an exercise industry. If I don't know, did you hear about the CrossFit lawsuit against the letter organization that lost a federal lawsuit to CrossFit for?
Can you hear about that? Is that recent?
Oh, okay. Well, I'm not going to say any names or letters, but the most prestigious letter organization lost the court. The case is over. It's been adjudicated by a federal judge. Federal judge said they've never witnessed more corruption in any case they'd ever seen, and they awarded $4 million. This is not the judgment. This is attorney's fees and stuff. That is not the judgment. We still wait for the judgment. CrossFit won $4 million on these people because they did a hit job on CrossFit. They said, oh, CrossFit may be effective for exercise, but there's a preponderance of injury. And it turned out they fabricated it. And they have emails and they destroyed evidence and blah, 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 right?
They fabricated the injury counts?
They fabricated data.
Okay.
And then deleted emails and didn't turn over stuff and blah, 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 blah. Okay. And this is the most respected organization in fitness.
Yeah.
By many people would say that it's the most respected. If you want to get a job in the colleges being a strength coach, well, you need their specific certification specifically.
Got it. Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, really? Yeah. You see, the thing that gets me sort of like amped up and feeling like optimistic, but also a soldier. We need to fight and we need to win for truth and for justice. Because right now, what's happening around us is surreal. The cognitive dissonance, the willful ignorance, the lies, the propaganda. I don't trust anything anymore, okay? And I care about policy, not personality. So Trump could be a flawed person, but policy-wise, there's no choice. in this next election, and who knows, maybe people hate me for saying it, but in this next election, if we elect a senile, corrupt, multi-millionaire, the guy's got like $240 million on a senator's salary. How'd you make your money, motherfucker? How'd you make your money? That guy's the most boring, senile, like, we want to go in a depression. I'm sorry. I'm just like, I can't do anything about that. All I can do is help with the integrity of the human species at the most fundamental level, beneath the words, like implicit in how you take your next step. Are you balanced? Or are you forcing yourself to compensate?
Right.
These are the questions. And it's one where, again, I came at the industry all, crazy and just trying to get attention because I thought, like, okay, faster is faster. The clock determines that. And so there's no argument. Well, They can sit on their hands and never pick up the pulsers if they want, which is what they do. And what's happened now is I'm in a position to bring to the marketplace something that's undeniable, and it's going to be too hard to ignore. And finally, we're going to hold these people to task. I want these people to stand up in front of the industry and either defend your position that we need to brace our core super stiff and neutral and resist the twist and do your pal-off press, defend that, or join the winning team. And let's put all this bullshit behind us. Like, I don't want to hold a grudge against some guy who was misinformed about BOSU balls, and therefore he was, telling his audience that BOSU balls made you. I don't want it. Like, I can forgive you for that. I can forgive you for teaching people to anti-rotate and do stupid exercises that aren't right. I can forgive you for all that. But I can't forgive you for the continued willful ignorance. And at some point, financially, they're going to lose. Financially, they're going to lose. And like, if I were trying to sabotage a sports organization, I would send them to these people.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they do a lot of good things, but it's like, if I go to a restaurant and you serve me a plate with the most amazing meal, but there's a little smear of shit on that plate, well, it ain't good enough. Why is there shit on my plate?
Yeah. There's no amount. Well, if it's this small, it's okay. If it's
any amount of feces on my plate is unacceptable. One rep of the pal-off press is a smear of shit on the plate.
Right.
Because here's what it is, Mike. The nervous system. Okay. You think about what you're doing. You're getting sympathetic. You're conjuring up your muscle force, and you're insisting upon this no man's land position that is flat space in martial arts where you get knocked out. You got no power whatsoever, and you can't change. You have to change and shift your weight to be capable of even moving anywhere. The time for bracing your core is when you're under axial pressure, when you have weight to bear, then you brace. But if you're moving, you do not brace yourself in neutral. That's a sin. It's a cardinal sin in the martial science. And again, I don't know how many people are going to listen to this. The first week, 400 people going to see this video? Maybe, whatever, 500, 1,000, I don't know. But it always remains that it's a mark in time where the truth was told, that we have got to align ourselves with a proper theory of how we actually move, not some seminar lecture series that you and your laboratory determined that we're going to do. You see, and that's what they've been doing. And they prey upon the suburban affluent. That's who they prey upon. Because what they do is they have their little kid factories. After school, all the kids show up and they run them through the gauntlet. I'm sure they do a lot of good things, but they also do some of cardinal sin bad things that just by virtue of doing it, it outs you. It reveals that you don't understand. All it takes is one drop of that truth venom in the suburban world, and they're going to stop bringing the kids to these people who go out to Long Beach and all go around and listen to the current concepts in core training. Yeah, okay, what are they? Yeah, let me write it down. Have you've heard about what I do with the rope, right? Training with the rope.
Yeah.
Basically, what I did with the rope was, Mike, you know me since 2005. I'm not the most physically intimidating man on this planet, am I?
No.
Right? But I am a man who can honestly say I know how to control my own space. And if you're going to try to take my air and blood, well, it will be more challenging than you would think based upon the package that is present before you.
Right.
I know how to move my body. I have trained my body, right? I know how to move my body. I know how to defend my, I'm not a badass, but it is of critical importance to my psyche that when I am in the presence of other men, that I feel a certain base level of confidence where he can't just impose his will on me.
Right.
He can't just impose his will upon me. No, he can't.
Right.
Because you know why? Because he can't. I need that. As a man, I need that. That makes me feel good. I can have more fun. I can joke around with everybody. I can be a good person when I'm not fundamentally physically.
Yeah.
And I think that's similar.
Yeah, I think that's crucial for every man to feel that way, and most men don't feel that way, and that's
most men don't feel that way.
Yeah,
most men don't feel that
in unhealthy ways as a result.
Correct. And one of the ways that you can sabotage yourself and the people that you're educating is teaching them to get strong in the wrong way.
Yeah.
Strong in the wrong way. Usually that's like, hey, improve your technique so you don't hurt yourself, right? That's how you would usually interpret that.
Right.
But what it is when we're younger as men, we bully and get bullied physically. And it's a physical imposition. And what happens is those people who aren't physically stronger, when we get older as men, the bullying shifts from physical to financial. That's how you bully. You took the pretty girl to the prom and you kicked sand in my face and now you're cutting my lawn and paving my driveway, motherfucker.
Right.
Like that's how we get even as men.
Right.
If you wanted to scare the bejesus out of me, take away all my money.
Right.
Because a man is what? A man is a provider.
Right. Right.
Okay. If I can't provide, what the fuck am I good for?
Yeah.
Oh, and I take that seriously.
It's I always say there's 5 components of strength, and financial is one of them. And if you're weak in any of those 5 components, mental, physical, spiritual, emotional, financial, right? If you're weak in any of those, then you're weak overall. It's like saying, I have 4 tires, but only 3 of them work. Well, it's not enough. You either have 4 or you don't have any, because 3 is not enough. You're not going to get it. You're not going to go anywhere, no matter how good those 3 tires are if one is missing. So if those 5 components of what I feel is comprehensive strength, if you lack any of them, you're not strong, you're weak. You're at the mercy now of circumstances and other things.
Bingo. And that's what it is. I heard the definition of the word victim is that victim has no options. To be a victim means that you got no choice. There's no option. So you are now victimized. What we want to do is we want to control our situation to the best of our ability. And for me personally, having a certain sense of physical prowess, that means like physically, you're stronger than me in any measurable that we're going to count. But But, if we're going to run, if we're going to, if you're going to try to fight me, well, okay, what choice do I have but to do my best?
Right.
What choice do I have? And I have prepared myself. I train all the time. Fight and flight, the foundation. And for me, for me, what it is it's the integrity to inform another person to make their life better. And getting someone stronger at dysfunctional movements that are somehow scientifically, positioned as, what we have to do. Like it's maddening. It's infuriating.
Yeah.
It's like, come on. And so, and I think to bring it back again, I never got into the fitness industry by choice. It was just a lucky accident. Like it was just practicality. I'm a personal trainer to survive, to try to be an actor, and then invent something. Oh, this is something that has utility. I'm going to bring it to the marketplace. And I knew that I could create financial freedom, and the financial freedom bought me time.
Right.
And so, and also my situation is very different than most people in the fitness industry because my nut is covered just by waking up. And that is the American dream. It's like, you can invent something, put yourself in a position where the check is in the mail, right? The BOSU ball has been a home run. It has
Oh,
afforded, it's afforded me, and we still sell BOSU balls. We still sell more each year. We're still growing. And I would say that what these irresponsible fitness experts, the ones with the degree and the positions in these prestigious organizations, the ones who've lied to people in effect, basically, misinformed people. They didn't mean to. I don't think they're evil people, but I think that they're ignorant. I know they're ignorant. And what they've done is they've foisted upon the industry this wrong thinking that has cost my business more than $100 million. If you look at 2007, if you look at 15 years or even 10 years, right? And you look at like, okay, what's the consequence of having an army of the smartest certified trainers with the most prestigious thing, all telling people that BOSU balls make you weaker? That became like the theme. The T Nation had to take down the article, The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, about BOSU balls, because we told them, we said, listen, you're lying to people. And he took it down and he issued an apology, that guy, right?
who was that, TC, or who was it over there that you dealt?
TC did the, we just called them on it and said, look, you got a scientific research study that didn't use a BOSU ball, but you're using the BOSU ball as bait click or whatever, clickbait, to get people to your article, and they all bashed on a BOSU ball, right? Okay, you harmed us financially.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And it's the kind of a drop that stone, it creates a ripple that just goes out, because now you've poisoned the mind. There's a 23-year-old coming out of college who just came out of one of those certs, who now tells everyone they meet that BOSU balls are unstable and they make you weaker. And some of them even campaign against the BOSU ball.
Well, just the whole premise of an unstable surface makes you weaker is flawed, if you really think it through. Whether it's an Indo board or a BOSU or a sand dune.
Well, what it is there is a learning curve to any balance challenge. There's a learning curve, okay? And during the process of that learning, there is a fear, a primal fear associated with busting your ass at any second.
Right.
Now, on an Indo board, the first day, your tension rises in your body, and you get like this because you're afraid, and you learn to wean that out of the system so that you're more reactive, right? And so what these people did was they looked at a unique slice in time. You're not conversant with the balance training implement. You're doing something that makes you uncomfortable, and so you can't load it maximally. Okay.
Right.
And then that's all they focused on. So it's like, okay, if you're going to put me in a situation where I don't trust the foundation underneath me, and I need to raise the tension up in me to sort of manage the threat, that can be counterproductive if you don't get through that and get beyond that, so that you're patterning good reps, right? And so what it is with something like, and the Indo board is the best example, because you're guaranteed to bust your ass on that thing.
Oh, yeah.
If you're trying, you're going to fall at least once.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
At least once, right?
Oh, yeah.
And what's different about the BOSU ball is the BOSU ball, when the dome is up, that thing ain't unstable. The thing's stable. You can jump on it with 100% your weight, 100% commitment, without any fear.
Right.
No prime. Like so it reduces it down, and it truncates that in between, to the point where if you know it and you know the right intentions, you're taking the speed of your ability to react, and you're improving it with the
unstable. You're not control that tension and then learning how to relax. You're learning how to relax from the get-go. With the Indo board, everybody gets on it. They're super tense, especially with the weight training background. You get on the Indo board, you're trying to control it. You're clenching your fist, and then that's why you go flying off of it. And when you learn how to relax on it, you can stay on that board forever.
Yes, and then here's certain things like biomechanics wise. I discovered in 2010 the core fist, which is basically what I'm doing is I'm triangulating the fingers so that I have triangles here, that all the flexor force associates with fear, okay, and immaturity and weak. That's the flexor force. The extensor force is the confidence, the openness, or the vulnerability of being confident and open, and then the flexor is guarded and protecting. So it's you're either dialing it to this open expansive, or you're coming to here, and that's what inhale exhale is.
Right.
right? So I mean, it's this constant flow of the energetics, and this I can take. If I do this, it'll fail. If I keep squeezing here, it'll fail, and this is not good for punching because it's all disintegrating. I'm gonna break this stuff. I'm gonna break the wrist. But when I do this, that shit isn't like
Right.
I can hit so fucking hard with that thing, and I'm not gonna hurt myself. Really, really. See what I'm saying? Like that's God's honest fucking truth right there. And once I found that and I felt the float of tensegrity, more tension equals more freedom when
Right.
the bones are right. And that's when I learned to double down pulse. And instantly I was like, holy fuck, I can add ground loading forces with my hands by directing them down and not swinging one up. The side that's hitting the ground, if I focus down, reactive, boom, I spike the landing and the launching. I get a spike in ground force at just the right time that makes it easier, physically easier. And then when I discovered that, instantly the first person I thought of was Deion Sanders. I was like, of course. And then you picture Deion Sanders running down the field. It's a double down. Randy Moss, Lawrence Taylor, Christian Coleman, Darrell Green, Eric Dickerson, Walter Payton. Name the fucking athlete. You see what I'm saying? And I knew that. But I couldn't teach it to anybody. Because how are you going to teach someone to do that? Didn't have the stimulus. And so and then 7 years later after discovering this, and this changed everything for me. Because then I pulled that through. I went to Chinese medical school and I studied the meridians, and like I can tell you things that aren't taught. You give a guy enough money so that all day long you do whatever the fuck you want to do.
Right.
Oh, okay, well, I want to study movement. That's what I want to do. Right? And so you make these certain truths and then you test it out. I created a game of push hands where we create no damage, but we find out who the better man or woman is. Where there's no striking and there's no grabbing, and it's take the other person's balance. Skillful pushes and pulls without grabbing. So you're not wrestling. It's the skillful, so that you learn how to yield to force and neutralize and figure eight it. So you can take someone who's stronger than you, who doesn't know the game, how to play it, and you can embarrass the fuck out of them.
Right.
Because you bring in someone who's 240 pounds, and if they don't know how to yield and stuff, I will push that motherfucker around. Oh, and if I can push you around, well, now I'll beat your ass. I'll cover you in football if I can push you around, right? So I take it, and I'm just passionate because I take this so seriously, and I look at you as you're a genuine person you're a badass by just the standard measure that you're going to uncompromisingly hold your own feet to the fire to evaluate who you are. Right? You keep score. I've listened to you for years because you're unlike me. You not got some royalty check coming. You gotta work and you gotta make sense. Like I didn't have to make sense. I could be this crazy nut or whatever, come up with a good idea because it takes that sort of taking it out of the bandwidth of the normal to even find these new things. And how the fuck is you gonna figure that out if you're not, slightly off from what a conventional person thinks of?
Right.
You know what I mean?
All are slightly off when we see things from a different viewpoint, whether it's physical training, whether it's hormone optimization, whether it's anti-aging. It always takes someone with not a purposely contrarian view, but someone who has a different perspective, someone who can evaluate the data and come to a different conclusion than the masses do.
Yeah. And what I care about is I care about regular people. Like we can geek out about push-ups and sit-ups and squats all day long, but most people don't care about that stuff, right? They don't care. So we have to do the hard work in that department for them to provide good information. And in the fitness industry, it's a joke. So first of all, you have the whole side of the industry that's just trying to fool people to get your credit card, right? This little doohickey does this and buy it, please, right? They know that the customer who buys it will never use it. It's just a financial transaction. It's bullshit, right? It's false promises. It's all that.
Yeah.
And then you have the other side of the industry that is like academic and like old functional, and they're corrupt. Right. They're teaching the wrong thing. They're the ones that we're counting on to get it right. It's like, what? And then they lose, and then and I know some of the personalities behind this. I know what it is, right? It's the fear. It's the fear of insecure men. Let's call them boys, because they're not truly men. They're boys. It's the fear, and they understand how to play the game. They understand how to bully and put. If you don't know this, then you're ignorant. Like you don't know how to train the core. My doctor, whoever over here said in his laboratory that you have to do it this way. Oh, really? And I'm like, it just fucking pisses me off so bad that we have just human beings. I think I'm reacting to COVID and the whole lockdown and the whole political thing. Like I was born in 1970, and I thought this is like I thought things were true, and I trusted institutions.
Right.
And now I feel like I've been betrayed by just about everything. That now the only thing that I can trust are the things that like are verifiable.
Right.
And if it's not verifiable, well, I'm not all in. You know what I mean? And what I can feel and what I can sense and what I can measure, I know it's true. I know it's true. And I got, I don't know, Mike. I mean, you don't have kids, right?
No. Mm-mm.
Are you gonna have them, you think, or no?
No. If I wanted to have kids, I would have done it a long time ago. I'm 47 now. Carol's 54. Carol's 54. She could, we never wanted to have kids though anyway. So that was one of the things that appealed to me about her when I first started dating her.
Got it. Yeah. Well,
every girl I met was like, yeah, I want to have kids in the next couple of years. I was like, fuck that shit. I'm 28 years old right now. I'm building my business. I don't have time for all that crap. Then I met her and she's like, no, I never want to have kids. I'm like, well, great. This is going to work out nicely. Not that there's anything wrong with having kids. I just knew for me, it wasn't something that was important to me. I didn't really care to have it. Anyone who wants to, I encourage it, if you want the responsibility. But I think people need to be honest with themselves. I think a lot of people, especially from our father's generation, they just had families because that was just the next progression is you go to college, you get your master's degree, maybe you get a PhD. Oh, now it's time to get married and have kids. And they didn't really think about why they did anything. They just felt it was, okay, that's just the next natural progression.
I lived my life that way, but I went to school, and what came next year was the next year.
Right.
And all I did was get, good grades to cover my ass so that when that process was over, I could find a good job. Literally, like that was my strategy. I cared about football. I cared about beer, and I cared about girls. Yeah. Like those were my principal interests.
The trifecta of college.
Like high school and college, that's what I cared about. Football, alcohol, and women. Like that's it. And cover my ass so that I can get a good job. Like, life was not complex.
See, that's the other thing also is that my parents' generation, it was all about getting a good job. You go to college to get a good fucking job. It was never create your own entity. Why work for someone else? Create your own thing instead. It was never even that wasn't even a possibility that was recommended. And in college, there's no course on being an entrepreneur or the benefits of being an entrepreneur, or even learning how to do basic accounting and taxes and things like that. Useful things that every adult needs to know.
Yeah, I mean I approached that and sort of didn't realize until the end of college, graduation, that it's like, what am I going to do next? And now there was suddenly this wide blue ocean of, well, it could be anything. And that's a really tough position to be in, where I had that gut check of like, I was all set to go work on Wall Street and make millions of dollars. I had done that the summer before. That's what I was going to go do. That's what I covered my ass to get. I graduated honors from Williams College, worked at Bankers Trust the year before. I was going to go down there and go make millions of dollars. Like, why not? That was what I was going to do. But then when it came upon, it's like, next year you don't get to play football, dude. Holy shit. Like, I want to get on a train every day and go to Manhattan and work at the bank and make $2 million and have a nice house and do that's going to be my life.
Yeah.
Like, I had the crisis and like, oh my God, like, I don't want that to be my life.
A lot of money, but you don't have a lifestyle. And that's what that a lot of people don't have, is that I make what many would consider a really good income. But the most important thing is that it takes minimal time for me to make it. So I have a ton of free time. Every day I wake up, I decide whether I'm going to work or not. I don't teach courses. I don't do personal training. I don't do consulting. All I do is design supplements and sell them. That's all I need to do. And so now that's afforded me a lifestyle that people who make way more than me have no time would love to have.
Yes.
While more money, so what? Time is a more valuable commodity than money at a certain point. No, it's only more valuable to have money when you have all the time in the world and you have no money. Then you go, look, I need fucking money. I have too much time on my hands. But once you've accumulated a certain amount, and each person needs to decide, when's it enough? When's it enough that you're making enough to afford the lifestyle you want and get whatever you want? And then how much of that do you want to trade for less time to make more money that you don't, as opposed to you're happy with your income and now you figure out how to keep maintaining that income or increase it without adding more time commitment to it, so you can live your life instead of just like for me, I work around my life. I don't live around my work. I get my work done around living. I'm going to go skateboarding for 2 hours, then I'll get some work done afterwards, like that, as opposed to let me get all this work done, then I can go do it.
That's one of the things. That's what I admire about you most, is that you understand sort of how you're striking your life's balance, and you're accountable to it, and you're succeeding at it. And just the mindfulness, like if people would just take that preparatory step to form an opinion, a strong opinion on what you actually want and what you're going to do to achieve it, like that's so smart. So smart. And,
well, honestly, it's crucial for someone like me because I'm prone to depression. And if I'm doing a job I hate and I'm living a life that's not fulfilling to me, I can spiral real hard. So it's not only am I only going to be good at things I'm passionate about, I'm only going to be happy if I'm doing what I'm passionate about. I don't care how much someone pays me. Someone could offer me way more. Someone could offer me 10 times my life savings a year to go work at some job that I know I'll die every day doing it. And I would never make that trade-off. So I'm at a point where it's nice to be in a place where, because everyone thinks they can motivate you with money. It's like, hey, Mike, I bet you'll do this for this amount of money. I turn down shit every fucking day. I don't care. I don't care about making money if it's something I don't want to do.
And you know what? That's where I think that may be sort of a fundamental basis for our friendship, because I'm similar in the sense that, like, I have never focused on the money. I focused on my freedom, and I'm the lucky mouse that, sort of dropped into a bucket of cream, churned it, turned it into butter, where it's like I don't have the same. I mean, everybody, you always have to be mindful of it, but I don't have the same concerns over money. And my focus has so much of the things that I've done, it's motivated by other things than money. But I never lose sight of the money at the same time.
Well, think about how addicted most men are to making money and what they're prepared to do. Now, you could tell the average guy who's money hungry, like, look, you can go have sex with a male boss. Let's say this is a straight guy. No one's going to find out about it, and you'll make this amount of money as a result of doing that. And I guarantee you, there would be a high percentage of motherfuckers who take that deal, especially if they realize no one's going to do it. People are slaves. People are slaves to money. Money is a god to people. It's like they're willing to sell their soul.
The reason why the fitness industry is so apprehensive to coming over to the truth, the people who have betrayed the fitness industry and only subconsciously sabotaged everybody with their core training, it's financial.
Right.
I mean, it's financial. Who's going to come to your seminar here to current core training when you yourself admit that you don't know what you're talking about?
Right.
It's a bridge, and it's
well, that's the thing about lying is once you're, even with Dragon Door and the whole RKC, you brought up Pavel and the lying about the master of sport and all that. And what's interesting is that never needed to be part of the narrative to build the whole kettlebell community. He could have just said, hey, look, I used kettlebells in Russia, I got good results with it, I trained a few people. That would have been enough. He didn't have to make up this narrative of I achieved things that he didn't, and there's no record that he did. That's going to backfire at some point. But the problem is that now that you've started this whole thing with the lie, you have to keep on lying to cover up the initial lies, and then it never ends. You can't.
Right. The first,
The
it's
whole house of cards falls.
right. And that's sort of, yeah, that's a dilemma. It's a dilemma. And I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I see, like, I'm not, I have like a deep yearning for just truth. And like when I was a young actor, just starting out, I carried The Catcher in the Rye with me everywhere for like 3 years. And I was doing monologues of a 15-year-old who hates phonies more than anything in the world. I cannot stand phonies. I
Yeah.
hate them. I hate them with a passion because they erode trust.
Yeah.
Like it's okay that Santa Claus is not real, okay? And it's like a paradigm to sort of have your dreams and hopes dashed. That like this wonderful idyllic little world is all just a fantasy to help you grow up before you have to come into the mud yourself and fend for yourself and all that stuff. But don't try to tell me as an adult that Santa's real, right? Or if he's real, let's talk about what is real, not he is real. You
Right.
see, and it's the human beings. I don't know what our purpose is, but I've got still like a second half of life, and I'm looking at it from now, and it's like it's really difficult to not look at the darker side of like, kids. I got 2 kids. What's the world going to be like for them? I mean, what's it like for them now?
Right.
They're not even going to school.
Yeah.
Then they're learning by a computer, and it's just like we have to solve the problems where they can be solved, and physical education. That should be a birthright, that a human being is given the correct information, at least, that they can make the most of themselves in the physical realm that answers to God himself, and not some motherfucker with a degree telling you to brace your goddamn core. Ugh. It's the stench of it. It's like it's just like, ugh. We will not have a strong society if the individuals are not strong in a sustainable strength. If they're all super strong in this, I'm going to ignore the stimuli and I'm going to just get really strong at what I'm told to get strong at. Well, that's how you're going to end up being serving a goddamn Chinese communist fucking party.
Yeah.
That's what's happening.
Yeah.
It's literally what's, and then I don't know if you've been.
Well, I mean, collectivism is scary, and lack of individuality that's growing at rapid rates is very disheartening and scary as well.
I would say that it's terrifying because it creeps in. It creeps in, and it can get to a place where it is too late. Like if the American experiment, if the light goes out, who's going to light it again?
Yeah.
Right? Who's going to light it again? You think about it, not too many generations ago, people laid their lives down for the freedoms that we now enjoy, and that we're so willing to seemingly just piss away to people who lie to, like the mainstream media, the lie. I enjoy conspiracy. I think it's fun to ponder these conspiracies. Like, did we go to the moon? September 11th? Like I have to. Because when I see what happened on September 11th, and then you equate it with the narrative, a sane person knows that's not true. And then, at the dinner party, you don't raise it. Okay, we don't need to be awkward. But when it's just yourself and your maker, that shit's not real. And now with this COVID thing and the crisis, I mean, I've come across conspiracies, the whole adrenochrome and the child pedophilia and like satanic rituals and shit. Stuff that I would have dismissed out of hand. There's no way that I would even consider it. And now I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Right.
And that's like, what? Like,
well,
I have no idea.
As it is, we don't know what's going on. We don't know what's going on behind closed doors in every situation. We don't know what people are really thinking and what they're really saying. Yeah.
Well,
so there's reason to be incredulous.
But now, when you watch a movie Out of Shadows made by the stuntmen, if you've seen that one, the whole Pizzagate thing, I don't have time to go chase these things down. But when I see a documentary movie that brings up these questions that seem to me like,
Well,
wait a minute.
I have a lot of skin in the game as an anti-human trafficking person. I support
Yes, you do.
yeah, so I've looked into that world quite a bit, and nothing really surprises me that comes out because pedophilia has been part of Hollywood probably since the beginning of Hollywood, and it's one of those worst kept secrets that
Oh,
everyone knows, but no one wants to do anything about.
and
And
see,
the
and that's
thing about human trafficking also is that if you look at cartels, drugs obviously is their number one income source, but number two is human trafficking. In a lot of cases, it's child human trafficking because there's a lot of
they're
sick motherfuckers out there
they're easier to
looking at
traffic.
these products. Yeah, so they make a lot of money off of this. So they're not, it's not even that they intentionally want to be cruel to kids or whoever they kidnap. They're just looking at them as a commodity. I'm not saying they treat them well. They don't treat them well. I'm just saying the motivation is we're going to kidnap kids because we can make a lot of money off of it. That's the motivation to do it. And the reason why they can make a lot of money is because there's high demand for this.
Right.
I mean, pedophiles and child molesters on my streets, on your streets, in every neighborhood in Las Vegas, in every neighborhood in the fucking world. Now, every ethnic group, it doesn't matter. They are everywhere, and way bigger than the average person thinks. Like my friend Ty Ritter of Project Child Slave, he said, "Look, these pedophiles can go grab any kid they want from any park, and the parent won't even notice because they're skilled at this kind of thing." And when you look at how distracted people are, because when he first told me that, I go, I don't know, that sounds kind of far-fetched. And then I took my dogs to the park, and there's a bunch of kids playing, and the parents are on the phone, and chit-chatting over here. Their kids are 50 yards over there. And I'm like, wow, he's right. Anyone who wanted to take advantage of the situation right now could come here right now, grab any of these kids, and be on the way. And sometimes these pedophiles are paid by cartels. Here's $20,000. Get me an 8-year-old blonde, blue-eyed little girl, right? And they'll go fucking do it. So this is a problem that everybody needs to be concerned about. It blows. I mean, nothing irritates me more than bringing up this topic, and people are like, well, that's someone else's problem. Most people, if it's not happening to your kid, they don't really see it as a problem. Once it happens to your kid, yeah, now you go out there and you become a campaigner for all this and so forth, and it becomes a big mission, and that's all great. But the reality is that, like when people say, "Oh, as a parent," I was like, "Fuck you, as a parent," because nobody donates more money to Project Child Safe than me, a guy who's not a fucking parent. So don't give me this bullshit that if you have kids, you understand the situation better than I do, because you don't. I'm still a human being. I was a kid. I'm a survivor of sexual abuse as a kid. Nobody gets this shit better than I do, and that's why I'm so motivated to do something about it. But we just, it's one of these discussion topics that you bring it up, everybody gets quiet, everybody wants to change the subject, nobody wants to do shit about it. Like, well, it's so just rare to give a lecture and people in the audience are like, "Oh, I don't want to hear this. I don't want to hear this. This is terrible."
Right. Well, and listen, and I can understand that. Like, it's something that, like, it's a subject that you don't want to sort of hover around.
Yeah, it's not a fun topic to talk about.
No, it's a horrible topic. But
while we're complaining about how uncomfortable it is, there's a little kid right now who's being tortured all day long, and is never going to be saved. Like 2% of people make it out of this human trafficking world. Yeah. So some little kid that's there now, that's going to be that kid's life until the day he or she dies, because no one is coming to save that kid. And people are okay with that, because if you don't do anything about it, then you're okay with it. You're saying, you know what, that's terrible, but I can't do anything, so I'm just not going to do anything about it. That means you don't give a fuck. That's the problem.
Yeah. Oh my God. Well, Mike, I think we're going to queue up another conversation.
Yeah. Let's do it soon. I know you have to go soon, so let's just let me know what your Instagram handle is.
Yeah, the David Weck. David Weck.
And your website, of course, is
Weck Method.
That's right. Weck Method. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is awesome. Let's have another conversation soon when you're.
Yeah, let's queue up another one soon. I won't have a restriction. I have when we set this up, I didn't realize I had a hard stop. But
no, that's fine. That's fine. I actually have to go around 1:15, so it works out well. Also, you're in San Diego, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Well, next time I'm out there, I'll definitely give you a heads up. I like to take my dogs to that beach. Carol and I go to San Diego usually once a year.
Ocean Beach, Dog Beach is legendary.
That place is amazing.
It's incredible. It's like it's one of the best places to go to the beach ever.
Yeah. No, I could spend the whole day there easily.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's do that.
Person sometime in the near future.
I look forward to that, Mike. Thanks for the opportunity to talk to your audience. And audience, I apologize for being a bit all over the place.
No,
But
that's what I like. This is a conversation-based show, so
just
we're gonna
pure passion,
no, it comes through.
and what we and listen and the whole like, oh my God, God have mercy on us all. Okay, because Jesus, I mean, the subject is that you're just talking about, the trafficking, is so disturbing that
Yeah.
this is like, I don't have to forgive. I would let God forgive. Like, I just want that these things to stop.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it takes a toll.
Absolutely.
It takes a toll on the collective conscious when conscious beings, our own species, are being harmed so egregiously and just brushed under the rug. That harms
Honestly,
everybody.
I have a hard time even enjoying anything because I'm thinking about, I mean, not to say that I don't enjoy things. I still live my life, but honestly, it's a constant thought on my mind going, hey, you're out here enjoying stuff. You're having a good life. Meanwhile, this is what's going on to a lot of kids all over the world. And
Right.
you get to the point where it just drives you crazy and you can't live fully. I understand all of that, but you got to do something to,
Well, and
you gotta
physical,
put something in
again,
this game.
physical education, physical fitness is a wonderful outlet to exercise these things so that, we can get back to positive. So I appreciate you, Mike. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Let me hit stop recording.